Hello and welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 42. I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And we are actually under a severe thunderstorm warning at this moment, so who knows what will happen during this video. And I also might be interrupted by a HVAC technician friend of ours coming to help us with some issues, so it's possible I'll have to pause. But hopefully not. Yes, severe thunderstorm warning Friday afternoon and forecast of thunderstorms going into the evening, which is too bad because we had actually planned to go to a local establishment this evening for some adult beverages and some live music by some friends of ours. So I don't know if that will happen or not. Outdoors it would have been, which is especially nice. But I think that if there's a severe thunderstorm warning or even watch, they might postpone it. We'll see. Anyway, welcome. Thanks for watching. I know I've had a lot of new subscribers recently, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate all of you watching, whether you're subscribed or not. There is a video. Yes, there is a video. That's what you're watching. There's a giveaway, has a V in it. I think that's why I said that word. There is a giveaway that I'll, when I get to it in the stack, I will give you the outcome of that. But let's get started on cross stitch. Flosstube, as I'm sure you know, is mostly about cross stitch and other embroidery arts. And Variety Show is about other things. So we'll see what the other things turn out to be today. I realize there's an odd reflection in my glasses today. Sorry, I hope that's not too distracting. Not sure what to do. That's my computer. I have notes over there, which I sometimes refer to. And just so you are aware, I'm not going to give tons of details necessarily about everything that I show because I give details pretty much in the description box below each video. So first of all, I have a finish. This is Sweet Summer Come Again, the needle roll, Blackbird Designs. I work on this in the first weekend, I work on Blackbird Designs the first weekend of most months, which is the BBD Weekend SAL. That's the hashtag for it. Blackbird Designs Weekend Stitch Along, and I'm pleased with how this turned out. It's supposed to be made into a tiny little cylinder, about 1.25 inches in diameter or so, but I think I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, make a little cushion or something, pin cushion or pillow or something out of it, but love it. It was very fun to stitch also. So that was that. I also have another finish. Remember, I've been working on Tiny Art Sunflowers by Cross Stitch Obsession, and I finished it last night. Well, actually, I thought I had finished it last night, and I put a photograph of it on the web page, on the Facebook page of this group, but I had forgotten to do the back stitching of those few little stems there. But I just am so impressed with how this turned out. And I don't know what's the best way to show it to you. I'm really pleased. And I have some more of those. I'll show you later. More of those art reproductions. Yeah, I'm afraid that my table is just a total mess. It's always a little bit of a mess, but under the roof of blue Ionian weather, I'm been working on this since March 28th of 2021, and I'm just past 40% on it. I'm so impressed. I didn't iron it. So some of what you're seeing is the fabric mark of my hoop, but you can also see the three-dimensional marble steps there. I mostly worked down in this area. I have a lot of individual stitches right in the center of this edge, the working edge, that I need to fill in. And once I get that filled in, I'll move my gridding over. The whole piece is about, yeah, it's about, yeah, I know, sorry, I'm off camera. It's about this wide, I think. Maybe not quite that wide, but it is fun to work on. It is a lot of the same color. So I don't even show it every week, even if I've worked on it, because it's hard for me to convince you that I've done anything because it's so much the same. Flea Market Flowers, designed by Holt. I've been working on this big central box here. Last time I think I had most of or all of the corner flowers in this central box, and I now have started working on that big flower in the middle. I like this. I enjoy working on it. It's nice to have something that's symmetrical and requires very little brain power as a change from all the, you know, full coverage, heavily confettied things are really something. So I also have been working on the purple sampler a little bit. I'm still sort of musing. I get going on it. I have a lot to do, and then I have to pause and think. And I'm in the pausing and thinking stage, but I did do one more border here, and I'll do a narrow border probably beneath this, probably just one. And then I will do another motif section. And I have this fabric, it's very long. I have this fabric held up with a basting stitch because it just gets in my way. So soon I'll have to be basting the top of it because this is about 9.5 or maybe 10 inches by now. And my target height or length, whatever, dimension is, I think it's 28 to 30 inches, something like that. So I'm about a third of the way, roughly, give or take, down. And that border, by the way, came from this. So I've been using the Brenda Keys Ultimate Sampler Motif book for a lot of that, but I got that border out of this, this sampler, Harriet Salt. It's one of these. It's in here somewhere. It's in here somewhere. You know, I still have this feeling that I might want to stitch this as it is. I think it would be fun. I really do. I don't know. Right at the moment, I'm just using it as inspiration and reading the text and admiring it. So we'll see. I don't know. I also realized that I don't usually show you my project bags, but this is one kind that I use. This is what I mostly use. These are, you know, zipper things from Amazon, very inexpensive. This is another size I put my thread in. And the patterns fit in there, and a lot of the things I'm working on, I do on Pattern Keeper, so I don't have patterns. And then this is a lovely project bag I've been using for my Blackbird pieces, and this was made by my friend Leslie, who is a librarian and loves books, as do I. Though you wouldn't know it from my reading progress this year, I've been really focusing on things that require me to use my eyes and hands for something other than holding and reading a book. But I have been listening to some books, but it's funny how your life goes in seasons. Anyway, another thing I will show you before I get to other cross-stitch plans, I guess, because it's the next thing on my stack. So that's what you get. I do plan this beforehand. I usually create the description box before I make the video. Sometimes I add something in if I, you know, improvised and ended up talking about something I didn't realize was going to come out of my mouth. So I try to give some information. And then I stack things up in a reasonable order on my table, and then I put them aside as I deal with them into a heap, truly. Usually it's a heap. And then after the video, while it's uploading, I put things away. because I can't really work with a heap, believe it or not. Any of you who've actually been in my kitchen may think I'm prevaricating, but it's true, I really don't work in a heap. But I am working on a quilt, just beginning to work on a quilt, and let's see what order to show this. So these are the fabrics. So I did a little YouTube short the other day. Some of you might have seen where I tried to show these fabrics, but I wasn't aware that if you're filming a short, you can't change your camera. YouTube is what you're filming through directly instead of through the camera app. And so you can't switch the viewpoint of the camera from front camera to back camera or anything. And I thought I was going to be able to show myself for a few seconds and then switch over and show what I was looking at, but I couldn't do that. I'll have to figure that out. But anyway, what I was trying to show in that short was this collection of fabrics. This is the main focal fabric. This is a batik. I think I'm not sure the manufacturer of it. And then these are coordinating fabrics that go with it. This is a beautiful solid, just a gorgeous blue up here. I don't know. Again, it's hard to tell whether the phone camera is picking this up very well. This looks pretty good to me, the colors of that. And so anyway, these are the fabrics, again, especially this one and this limey green one and that blue. I think those are the main fabrics that are going to be in this quilt, and maybe some others. I've toyed with putting a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of purple in to give some variety. We'll see, because I'm really in the very beginning stages of this. And I am making, now this that I'm about to show you is not from those fabrics. This will not go in the quilt. This was a test block. So this is the Missouri Star block. It's one way to do the Missouri Star. You can put colors in different places, but this is a way to do the Missouri Star. And I got this pattern, this method of making this block from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. There was a triple play video from maybe 8 months ago, maybe longer ago, where they demonstrated this technique of making the block and used this block in several projects. And so I'm testing their technique with different sizes. And you might want to say that this is the role model block in a way, I'm back. There is some setting going on in my phone. It's a new phone. I apparently don't have it set up exactly the way I had my other phone set up, because for some reason it cuts out during videos. Sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, this is what some would call the role model block, as in it is sort of the basic idea behind the Missouri Star block. And I learned that term from Roberta Horton, who's a quilt designer and teacher that I took a class, my friend Cindy and I took a class from her in 2010 or something. It was one of the most influential classes I've ever taken at a quilt show. Just a fantastic class, and it was about fabric selection, mainly lights, mediums, darks, so value, as well as scale, small, medium, and large scale. I learned so much of it I've internalized. I don't even consciously think of, but my quilts show the influence of that class. And she taught us in part by showing us quilt tops that she had bought at flea markets and estate sales, i.e. quilt tops that someone had created the top and had never gotten around to quilting it, which I very much resonate with that particular challenge. Or I did, until Cindy and I got our long arm quilting machine. But the idea being that you look at the top and you can see that a person who was making the top, mostly women, I'll say she, who had limited resources, who couldn't just run down to the local quilt shop and buy a coordinated set of fabrics, had to make do with what she had, would make blocks as she had fabrics for them. And you could sort of trace the development of her block making by looking at how her fabrics were used. And one of the things that Roberta Horton would look for in these tops was, what is the role model block? What block is the basic one that the others are emulating? And then which are the outliers? Which are the ones that aren't like the role model block? And we tell why? Is it because she ran out of fabric? Is it because she was intentionally experimenting with different fabric placement? What exactly might have led to the differences? And usually interest and movement and energy in a quilt comes from the blocks that are not like the role model block. But if they're all not like the role model block, then you can't tell what the original intent was. So Roberta Horton's idea was, you have a plan that is obvious, and then you deviate from the plan on purpose. One of her statements that Cindy and I laugh about is, if you have a fabric in your quilt that you don't like, use it 3 times. So, and another thing that I learned, by the way, from Karen Brown on Just Get It Done Quilts is, if you have a fabric you don't like, you just haven't cut it small enough. And I think that is very true. But back to Roberta Horton and the idea of a role model block, what I'm doing in my experimenting right now is trying to figure out, what is my central block going to be? It will probably be a Missouri Star block, but it will not be exactly like this role model block that I showed. It'll be different. The color use and values and all will be different in the role model block, in the primary central block. And then there'll be other blocks around it, which might be Missouri Star blocks, and there might be other blocks. But in order to not use up precious fabric, I am experimenting with the smaller version of the block. And so this is my current idea of what the role model block might be. In terms of the light, medium, dark placement. So I'm treating the solid blue as dark, treating the print, which is that focal print, that primary one that I showed you, as the medium, and this lime green color is the light, and then this is background. But this very same block looks very different, the same exact fabrics, when you do something different out here. So I reversed these star legs. You see that instead of the print being on the points, the lighter fabric, the lime green, is on the points. And it's the same. That's the only difference. That's the only difference, actually. Same background, same central block. And they do look quite different. And then I did another one. One of the things I like to do is to try to push the envelope. How far outside of the, what I think the role model block is, can I go? Should I go? And if I can go too far, then I know something. I've learned something about how the fabrics work together and how the design will play out. And so I haven't, as I say, I haven't really decided on the design. Another way to do the Missouri Star, by the way, is to not have the central block. Let me pick a different one. Yeah, maybe this role model block may be easier to see. To not have this be dark, but have it be the same as the background. That's what this role model block was. Let's see. And, or to have this whole central block, this whole central area be that fabric and not have the corners cut off at all. So we'll see. This fabric is really beautiful, and the repeat on it is big enough that I want to make sure to have enough of it to appreciate the fabric without making it just, a simple, huge piece of fabric style quilt. So I'm working on dimensions of how it's all going to fit together. I'm pretty sure there's going to be sashings of that blue fabric to divide the blocks from each other. I don't think I'm going to put them right up next to each other. Although when you do that, I mean, I can't show you because I only have 2 blocks, but you do get an interesting secondary pattern when you do that. With most blocks, if you put them right up next to each other, you get something interesting. But that's what I'm working on. These blocks will probably be in the quilt because, as I said, you want to have variety. Even in a quilt top that is mostly the same, there needs to be some amount of variety to give it interest, and some amount of sameness to give it continuity and coherence. So in this case, that main fabric will be, and the blue and that lime green will be the things that give it coherence. And the blocks, where the fabric is placed, will give it interest, I think. I think that's the direction I'm going. Now, it's interesting that the person for whom I'm making this quilt watches these videos, so I might get some comments of her preferences. So anyway, that is, oh my goodness, what a mess I've made of this table. That is that I've been working on. Now I wanted to go back to cross stitch, if I can find where I am. So I'm going to talk about plans. So I've finished 2 projects, the Blackbird and the little painting, Monet painting. So I'm thinking about what am I going to stitch next? Because I'm going to start something. As I said before, and as I discussed last year, I think 5 or 6 active projects is about right for me to keep my interest up and yet not be overwhelmed. So I have some ideas. One is to stitch another painting because that was so fun. So I showed these back in November maybe as ideas, ones that I bought, and this Etsy shop has many more now. So this one, Girl with a Parasol. Here's Starry Night, very famous. I might do that. Oops. Here's a famous, I mean, these are all famous paintings. In fact, all the ones that have been done on that site are famous, I would say. I recognize them. And mostly, what's the term? Impressionist. Yeah, so there's some ideas. I might do that. I also have this pattern by Brenda Gervais, Patriotic Poppies, which I bought, I don't know, last year at some point. And I would like to do this, although the pattern does not have a DMC conversion, so I would have to work that out, because I don't think I'm going to buy, it calls for Classic Colorworks and Weeks Dye Works, and I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't know. I think I can make it look, I think that it could look really nice in DMCs. So I might do that. And I've shown on other videos other things that I might do. Among them, some of the Ukrainian designers that I went looking for on Etsy and purchased some of their charts because I wanted to support them as Ukrainian people, as a way for me as an individual person to support an individual Ukrainian person in their current situation of crisis and war. And with that in mind, I came across another Ukrainian cross-stitch designer the other day. This is an Etsy shop called Living on the Rainbow. And these little Christmas ornament mittens struck me. I think they're really cute. It's full coverage. So you stitch that blue color. It's not a background, it's not just the fabric. And there is a lot of back stitching, which really brings it to life. And the charts are very nicely done. They're color charts, PDFs, with a chart that's just for stitching and then another chart that shows the back stitching. And this is the one I bought. I think it was $10 is all. Those 4 charts. And then she sent this little add-on for free, which is another mitten. So I might do that. And just for your convenience, I listed the other Ukrainian Etsy shops that I have purchased from in the description box. And I have those charts. I didn't buy anything I didn't like. So I possibly would do one of those as well. We'll see. Maybe I don't know if I will have decided by next video, but you never know. Maybe I will have. So I want to do the giveaway, and where did I put it? Oh, here it is, right in front of me. As Byron's grandmother, Granny Faye, used to say, if it had been a snake, it would have bit you. So this is the giveaway. Adam names the animals. And I did this in a very old-fashioned way. I wrote your names on slips of paper, and I pulled them out of a hat. And Stitching by the River is the winner. So I will put a comment on your comment below, and you can send me your your mailing address, and I'll put this in the mail to you. So thanks for entering. Thanks for your interest. Thanks for all of you who watched last week's video. I sort of poke around in my craft supplies and discover I have other things that possibly I will not want. I will choose to not keep for myself, and you never know. Maybe there'll be more giveaways. It isn't really, I don't think of it as a feature of my YouTube channel, but who knows. But one of the things that occurred to me, I'm going to have to lean forward and reach because I'm not fully organized, apparently. Let's see what I can pull on here. Reach. There we go. While I was drawing the name, I had a flashback to when our son was a child. We wanted to have family game nights. And the biggest challenge of family game nights was deciding what game to play. Have I told this story before? Sorry if I have, for those of you who've heard it before. Certainly I've told the story before, I'm just not sure I've told it on a video. But so what I did, and my husband and my son and I, we would have a meeting, a game night meeting, and we would each select some number of games, say 5 each. And we would put those games on a slip of paper, and we would fold up the paper and put them in a jar. And that was the game jar. And when it was going to be family game night, whoever turn it was would pull a slip of paper from the jar. And upon that slip was written a game. And at that point, we were going to play that game unless the person whose turn it was vetoed that game, in which case we would set that one aside, and then he or she would pull another slip of paper, and whatever was on that slip of paper, we would play. And then once we had played a game, so the game that was rejected went back in the jar. If we played a game, then it left the jar. And then after we'd done this for maybe 10 weeks, so we hadn't done all the games in the jar, but we'd done the majority of them, we would reconstitute the jar. We'd have another meeting, we'd write down new games on slips of paper and fill up the jar again. And this had some great effects on our family game night. First of all, because we took turns who was going to be the person who selected the game, that itself was, that made it fair because we each had a turn, and therefore we each had a turn to have a veto. The second thing it did was that we each had an equal say in what games went into the jar. So it wasn't just Mommy's favorite games or the games that Dad disliked the least. It was anybody's game that they thought would be a good family game night game, or a game that they wanted to play, even if it might not be a good family game night game. And the third thing it did is it made picking the game out of the jar a game in and of itself. So it sort of started the evening with some excitement and suspense. And one of our 2 rules that we had, one was this veto rule. When it's your turn, you can veto. If it's not your turn, then whatever comes out of the jar, nobody else gets a say in whether that is vetoed or not, only the person whose turn it is. And the other thing is that the rule was we're going to play this game for a reasonable amount of time, and I will talk to you in just a moment about our solution about Monopoly, because that can be an unreasonable game. but we're going to play the game for a reasonable amount of time, probably until the game is finished, until someone has won the game. Everybody is going to do their best and play with enthusiasm. While the game is going on, we're going to be good sports about it. We're going to play the game according to the rules and all of that. And it really created a very nice family game night. So if you want a successful family game night, that is an idea, is to start it with a game jar. Another thing to consider is what kinds of games you choose. And of course, I'm very much into games, so I have some ideas. One is games where everybody's playing at the same time, so you're not waiting for each other to take a turn. And this game, Bananagrams, is a Scrabble tile type game. It's sort of a fast and furious game. You need a table that's smooth and that everybody can reach the center of the table. And you have to agree on that you're going to follow the rules. So that's a game that everybody plays at the same time. And Ink and Gold is another game that everybody plays at the same time, pretty much. I mean, there's a little bit of turn taking, but it's not really that much. Another type of game that's good for a family game night is a game where there's a lot of interaction. And so the game Bonanza is an example of this. You're trying to collect bean cards in sets that will get you more and more points. And part of this is involving trading with each other. So that's some interaction. So everybody's paying attention all the time. You're not just, off doing something random on your phone while you're waiting for it to be your turn. And another type of game is where the turns are short. And so this is an example of a game where the turns are short. And you do have to, it's pretty interactive. You do have to be pretty attentive to what other people are doing. So the game No Thanks. So those are some ideas for having a successful family game night that I would propose. And if you have other ideas about family game nights, let me know. We don't have a child at home anymore. We don't have a game jar. But I love games, and I have a lot of friends who do have family at home, and I seem to be asked about games because people think I know about them because maybe they've seen how many games I own, possibly because I love games. Anyway, that is really all I had to talk about today, I think. I hope you found something of interest. I hope you've enjoyed the stitching and the family stories about family games. Thanks so much for watching, really. It's exciting to see my number of subscribers grow and to see your interaction with me in the comments and in Instagram. Stitching by the River, I will comment on your comment about the giveaway. Congratulations. And I think that's all. So many blessings to you, friends.